Hello, and welcome to ShySpace, where we talk about all things pertaining to mental health and manifestation. My name is Cheyenne Roberts. I am going to be the host of this podcast. For those who don't know me on a personal level, people call me Shy, and that is where I got the name ShySpace. It's kind of a fun twist on the MySpace platform. My intention with this podcast and with this community that I am intending to build is to create a space for everyone to be able to show up as they are, show up as their most vulnerable and authentic selves with whatever struggles they may be facing. And then building on that and understanding how we can overcome our mental health struggles and limitations that we've created within our own mind for ourselves in order to be able to create our dream lives and overcome those things to align with our higher selves and our higher power. I want to first preface this episode by saying that I'm a very spiritual being, and this is just what has helped me over the course of my life create a life that I am absolutely in love with when I have struggled notoriously being miserable in every capacity. I'll get into the nitty gritty details of my life and my background and everything, but I just want to say that growing up in a positive and privileged environment does not insinuate that you will achieve success or that you will be happy or that you will not struggle or that you will not face major mental limitations that will then impact your ability to be successful and your ability to be happy, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I think most of us are looking for the same thing in life, and that's to be happy. I mean, whether or not you want to agree with me, I'm just here to bring light to the things that have literally changed and shaped my entire life for the better and have allowed me to create things that I never thought were possible for me. I've had people tell me that I have the knowledge and the wisdom of somebody who's twice my age, which I find so crazy because I want to have so much more knowledge and wisdom than I do. With that being said, I just feel really passionate about sharing the things that I've learned because I am very lucky to have grown up in an environment where this was exposed to me at a young age. Mom, if you're watching this, I'm so grateful for you. I love you with every fiber of my being, and I would not be here without you. My exposure to Abraham Hicks from you literally changed my life. So I also would like to give credit to all of the amazing teachers and philosophers and spiritual beings that have shaped my life through these teachings. And that is Abraham Hicks, Bob Proctor, and everyone at the PGI Institute, Wayne Dyer, Master Sri Akashana. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say his name. He is a spiritual teacher, and I absolutely love him. So again, I'm really sorry. Those are just some people that have really shaped my life drastically. Joe Dispenza is another one. I have to give credit where it's due. All of the things that I have learned and all of the things that I know are from these amazing people who have paved the way before me to bring light to these concepts and these amazing possibilities in life. Everything that I share with you is going to be some piece of information that I've learned from one of them, or it's going to be a concept that I have embodied on my own and then built on with my own experiences and things like that. I also want to say that I am in no way, shape, or form wanting anyone to feel like they are in the wrong if they don't think the way that I do or if they don't believe the same things that I do, because you'll learn really quickly when listening to my podcast that I tend to live in the land of Delulu, as us Gen Zers like to call it. I genuinely like to be delusional. It is what keeps me sane, which sounds crazy, but the more delusional I am, the happier I am, and the more amazing things come into my life. So do with that information what you will. But I will say I've had a ton of success and a ton of happiness in my life, and being delusional is one of the main reasons that I have achieved those things. And also, just for a little bit of context, I went to school to get my master's in psychology. So I have a scientific background to support all of these things that I've learned and experienced. I also bring in the mystical and the spiritual side of things because that's really what gets me excited and makes me feel passionate and amazing and all those good things. The reason that I did go to school and the reason that I do have all of these experiences is because I struggled or continued to struggle with anxiety my whole life. I'll talk about all those things in detail as well at some point. But right now, I just want to get you guys excited set the tone for what this podcast is going to be about and hopefully inspire somebody to change your way of thinking. Because I promise you, if you understood just how powerful your thoughts really were, you would literally never think a negative thought again in your life. I know that that sounds crazy. And if you're not accustomed to this way of thinking, and if this is very weird and bizarre to you, then you're probably going to hear that and be like, what the F are you talking about? That is not true. Just because I think something doesn't mean it's going to impact my life. And I'm here to tell you that you're respectfully very wrong. But again, we'll get into lots of evidence and lots of different details and things that I can share with you to help you understand that. But first, I want to talk about my general background as a human being and what's led me here and why I feel so passionate about this topic. Like I said, I've struggled with anxiety my entire life. I was diagnosed at a very young age and I've been in therapy on and off my whole life. I will say that I am a very privileged individual. I'm very lucky to have grown up the way that I did and in the circumstances and the environment that I did. But that does not change the fact that I have struggled immensely over the course of my life and that I have had to battle things that are just things that I would never wish upon anyone. I'm not saying that I have it difficult in comparison to others. By no means is that what I'm insinuating. However, what I am saying is that everything can be lined up perfectly for you. You can have a good education, you can have a good family life, you can have a good environment that you grew up in terms of your hometown, you can have good friends, you can have financial abundance, and you can still end up miserable, poor, or broke. And I mean that respectfully, and just unhappy and really, really unsettled at your core. And I am a perfect example of that. If you were to just look at me from a very objective standpoint, put all of the different things that I've experienced growing up in a little box and say, do you think this person would be successful and be happy based off of this criteria? Anybody from an outside perspective would look at that criteria, experiences, whatever, and say, yeah, this person, they're probably going to have a great life. They're probably going to be so happy, so successful, so well-rounded, not struggle with a negative money mindset, not struggle with their level of confidence and security. But that's just not true. It's not true because how you think shapes your entire life. The thoughts that you think and the beliefs that you hold will determine where you're going to go in your life, no matter how good things have been for you in the past. That is something that has been so difficult for me to wrap my head around as the individual struggling with this stuff firsthand and being the person who was in that situation where I was like, if you just lay out the cards of my life on a table, doesn't make sense why I'm so miserable. It doesn't make sense why I'm so broke. It doesn't make sense why I'm so unhappy. It doesn't make sense why I wake up every single day wishing that I hadn't. And I'm not saying that lightly. I have been so miserable and so unhappy for the majority of my life for no reason other than the fact that I have struggled with my mindset. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I do have anxiety, and that is obviously a major struggle to overcome. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the anxiety that was holding me back. It's not the anxiety that's holding me back. It's the patterns of thought that I continued to think and the beliefs that I continued to hold about myself and about my life and about who I am and what I can do and all of those things, all of the different concepts that I had in terms of where I was able to go did not line up with the opportunities that I had been given. So I constantly thought myself into these holes that then prevented me from being able to be successful and be happy. It wasn't until I finally had this light bulb go off in my head that made me realize that I was the one who was responsible for my own misery and my own downfall. That's when I finally decided that something needed to change, and that something being my mindset. And I'm telling you, the only reason that I am where I am now, as successful and happy as I am, is because of the fact that I worked so hard and continue to work so hard every single day on changing my mindset. I spend so much time trying to improve myself. It is a full-time job for me. I listen to Abraham Hicks every single day, as often as I can. I journal every single day. I meditate every single day. I do things that the general population typically does not do. And again, there's nothing wrong with that if you don't do that or you don't need to do that in order to be happy. But for me, it was literally the only way I was able to get out of my own way and create a life of success and abundance and happiness for myself because nothing else was working. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many actions I took, no matter how many certifications and degrees I got, nothing was going to change that for me. That is a perfect segue into talking about how important it is to analyze and be aware of the habitual thought patterns that you embody on a daily basis and also the belief systems that you hold. First, we need to understand what a belief is. I think that a lot of people make the mistake of viewing their beliefs as these concrete things that cannot be changed. Oh, I've believed this or I've thought this way my whole life, so it just is. It is what it is. It can't be changed. No, that's your first problem, is thinking in that regard, because that is not true. A belief is just a habit or a pattern of thought that you continue to think on a regular basis, and it becomes so deeply ingrained in your mind that you genuinely can't even fathom the idea that those beliefs could be wrong or that they could just hold little to no validity. When looking at any aspects of your life and trying to understand, how am I going to change this? What do I need to do to redirect this into something more positive or into a better outcome? You need to look at your beliefs. What do you feel when you think about your dreams and your goals and where you want to go? Do you feel like you can achieve them? And I'm asking you that on a serious level. I want you to think about your biggest, most out of reach, quote unquote, if you're just listening to this on audio, out of reach, out of sight goal. Is there something that you think about that you want to achieve that you just deep down do not believe that you can achieve it? If that's the case, I can promise you this: you will not achieve it with that mindset. No matter how hard you try, if you don't believe that you're able to achieve it, you won't achieve it. I know that that's hard to hear for some people, but it's the truth. And I'm telling you that it's as simple as changing your mindset and aligning with your higher self in believing that you're able to do it. Something that I have always struggled with in terms of goals and dreams is doubt and being able to fully believe in myself. The second that I turned that switch to on of being like, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to achieve this, but I just know that I'm going to do it because there's a reason that I want to do it. There's a reason that I'm passionate about it. There's a reason that it lights a fire inside of me when I think about it. And I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but I just know that I'm going to. The second that I'd switched into that mindset, everything started to change for me. That's how I got the job that I'm working right now, which I'll talk about in more detail as well. There is a past version of me that would have never believed that I could have got this job, and I did. Whenever I think about that and I think about what it took for me to overcome those negative beliefs and manifest this opportunity into my life, I just literally, my whole body just feels light as a feather in the best way possible because I remember that nothing in the outside world of my life lined up with my ability to say, yes, there is proof that I will be able to get this job. But I just believed deep inside of my heart, this delusional belief that I was meant to have this job and that I was capable of having it. And I got it. It's hard for me to believe that sometimes, even still. Looking back, I know I'm preaching about belief, but it's one of those things where it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of really aggressive dedication to not allowing your thoughts to run rampant in your mind with negative thought processes, anything of the like. Understanding that your beliefs are literally just a habit of thought is the first thing that you need to change. Secondly, is understanding paradigms. I learned this from Bob Proctor. A paradigm is just a multitude of ideas that are programmed in our subconscious mind that we act on repeatedly without giving any thought. So, if you want to get technical, a paradigm is really just a belief. We have all of these mental paradigms that we constantly use to make decisions in our lives, and we don't even realize that we're completely limiting ourselves to the amazing possibilities that are out there in the world because we have these deeply rooted paradigms that are programmed in our mind saying, no, you can't achieve that. No, you can't do that. No, you'll never be able to make that amount of money. No, you can't have that amount of money on your bank account. I don't care what it is that you think. It's not true. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. So if you're going to take away anything from this episode, this podcast in general, let it be this. Your beliefs, they are just that. They are not true. They're not real. They're not proven to be the case for you or anyone else in your life. Something else that's really important to understand when it comes to paradigms and belief systems is that when you try to think differently, it really aggressively triggers your paradigm. You have to understand that the subconscious mind is programmed so intensely that anytime you try to step outside of how the program is operating, it's going to push back aggressively. If you have a negative money paradigm like I have had my entire life and I struggle with still to this day, which by the way, this is what I meant when I say you could have everything lined up for you in life and you could still have just the absolute worst mindset, which then manifests into the worst conditions. Because I did not grow up struggling with money. I grew up privileged. I grew up in Calabasas. If you know the Kardashians, you know that's where they're from. It's a great area. And there was no reason for me to ever believe that I would not be able to be financially successful. But for some reason, I just always had this belief that I would not be. And what I manifested into my life was financial lack and difficulty. So the more that you try to think outside of that negative money paradigm and believe that you're capable of earning $200,000 a year, I'm just throwing out a random number. If you believe that you're only worth $50,000 a year and you try to tell yourself that you can attract or manifest a role that pays $200,000 a year, your paradigm is going to activate so aggressively in your mind, and it is just going to send you every negative thought and every bad feeling that tells you that that's not true. You're not going to be able to achieve it. You're not going to be able to manifest it. Why would you think this? How ridiculous of you to believe that you could have something like that in your life. Every single thing that you don't want to think and you don't want to feel is going to present itself when you're trying to go against that paradigm. Something that needs to be understood about paradigms is that when you're pushing against them, you have to push even harder when those thoughts come in. You have to try even harder to tell them to quite literally F off. And you have to be super aggressive and super disciplined in your thinking. I mean, this is something that people don't really understand is that exercising your mind is literally a muscle. It is just like working out. You have to flex that muscle so hard and say, I am not going to believe anything other than that I am worthy of achieving a $200,000 a year salary. And that is what I'm going to get. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get there. And I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know where. But I just know that it's going to happen. And the discipline over your thoughts and your mind is truthfully, it's crazy because I think it's one of the easiest and one of the most difficult things to accomplish because it sounds so simple on paper. Like just think a different thought. Just think about it differently. Just don't think that way. But when you're in the moment of dealing with those thoughts, they just feel so real. They feel so accurate. They feel so true. They feel like they hold the most validity and the most truth than anything in the entire world because your brain is telling you that. And so it's really difficult to say, oh, just because I am having this thought doesn't mean that it's true because why would I have this thought if it wasn't true? And it's really, really challenging to overcome that. I'm telling you right now, discipline over your mind is the key to success. It is the key to life. It is the key to every single amazing thing that you want to accomplish, that you want to experience. It is the key to your future and to your success. The sooner that you're able to understand that and really just wholeheartedly believe that and dive into that, the sooner that you'll be able to change the circumstances in your life like that. I do understand that this is hard to conceptualize if it's not something that you've been exposed to or that you just understand on a deep level, but it is true. And I would not be saying that if I didn't believe that wholeheartedly. Discipline over your thoughts is the number one thing that I would say to take away from this. And obviously, your beliefs are your thoughts. So those go hand in hand. Something else that's really important to understand in that regard is that you can't base where you can go off of where you are right now and what you have manifested up until this point. So I think a lot of people struggle because they look at where they are and they're like, Cheyenne, I have $100,000 of debt. I make $3,000 a month. I can barely afford my groceries and my bills. How the heck am I going to get to that place of financial abundance where I have excess money and no debt and, whatever it is that you want? It's really, really hard to shift that mindset into thinking about where you can go based off of the opportunities and all of the abundance that's in the world because of where you are now. I totally get that. What's manifested in your present reality, that's what you look at to determine where you can go, right? But Abraham Hicks says this literally all the time. I would not be saying this otherwise. You can't get there from here. You can't get there from here. So go there and you will get there. You have to live in the abundance mentally that you want to attract. You have to show up every single day mentally as the person that you want to become and believe that you are already there, and you will get there so fast. It is wicked scary, I'm telling you. That is everything I want to talk about today. I will dive into lots of really exciting things about how to manifest your dream life. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this. I love you and appreciate you so much. I can't wait to show you exactly how to get to exactly where you want to be. I hope that this inspired you in one way or another to challenge your ways of thinking and believe in yourself, because you can do anything in this world and you are a amazing, magical being. So I love you and thank you so much for listening.